Thanks for staying with us here on The Real Story. The long-awaited trial of Michelle Troconis has now started, accused of covering up the murder of mother of five, Jennifer Dulos. Troconis is the former girlfriend of now dead Fotis Dulos, Jennifer's estranged husband and presumed killer who didn't get to stand trial after committing suicide. It's been an uphill battle in Connecticut courts to get Troconis finally to trial. Judges expecting now it's begun. It'll last about 6 weeks. But how did we get here? What have we learned over the last 4 years? Jake Garcia is breaking it down for us.
May 2019, Jennifer Dulos dropped her 5 kids off at school and was never seen again. An investigation was launched spanning more than 70 miles across the state, from her New Canaan neighborhood to dumpsters along Hartford's Albany Avenue. The case, though unsolved, never far from Connecticut's collective mind.
An amazing mother and daughter and wife.
Gets me thinking, what happened? Will we ever really know?
Connecticut State Police presume she was murdered by her estranged husband, Fotis, who took his own life weeks after being charged with murder. Michelle Troconis, his former girlfriend, alleged to have helped him and accused of tampering evidence. She's believed to be in the passenger seat here, as Fotis Dulos was seen on surveillance dumping trash at 30 different locations. The bloody contents found in these bins eventually testing positive as Jennifer Dulos' blood, leading to he and Troconis' arrest. Her lawyer argues the forensic evidence matching her DNA to those trash bags could be misleading and from previous contact with Dulos. Troconis has been in and out of court for years and has pled not guilty.
That was Fox 61's Jake Garcia. And of course, more details will be emerging over the next several weeks. And Fox 61 has continuous team coverage on air, online, and on our news app. But as court gets national attention, many advocates here in Connecticut hope the core of the case will stay on people's minds: the reality of domestic violence and the need for change. A bill passed this past legislative session, which had some of the most protections for victims, from expanding an electronic monitoring system to rules in court ensuring survivors don't have to do things like alimony payments to their abusers. But advocates say it needs to go further, from more resources and training in law enforcement to more enforcement of restraining orders and funding for nonprofits. One of those nonprofits working to prevent deaths like Jennifer Dulos's and provide support for victims and survivors is Interval House. And they join Fox 61's Keith McGilvery to talk about the state of domestic violence right now, what's changed and what still needs to be done.
Mary Jane Foster with Interval House. As always, I appreciate your time. It has been some 4 years since Jennifer Dulos disappeared, now sadly presumed dead. Her story struck so many people. Why did it resonate with you the way it has with so many?
Well, I think first and foremost, it was surprising to many people, not to Interval House or anyone in the field, that someone like Jennifer Dulos was in a relationship that was threatening, intimidating, and dangerous, and ultimately lethal. Generally, people don't think those things happen in wealthy communities. And so it really struck many, many chords. And it has continued to resonate in part because she was so beloved in that community.
Michelle Troconis now standing trial in this case, but Jennifer Dulos' estranged husband, Fotis Dulos, took his own life before a verdict was reached in the case. As somebody who works every day in this profession, does that anger you? Does it frustrate you? What do you do with an outcome like that?
Many of the domestic violence murders are followed by a suicide. And so while we all might hope for a different kind of justice, it is what it is. And so rather than focus on that frustration, we focus on what else can we do? How can we be better at what we do? How can we reach more people with our resources?
And when you talk about reaching more people, I think perhaps a sliver of a silver lining here. Jennifer Dulos, I know you say, has had this incredible legacy now in combination with another Jennifer who folks may not know as much about. Tell me about that.
Jennifer Magnano, who was murdered, shot to death by her husband in front of her children in 2007. And her children really have been relentless in the most wonderful way about her memory and making sure that the laws change to better reflect circumstances in these relationships. And it is because of their work, in combination with Jennifer Dulos' story, that we have Jennifer's Law. And Jennifer's Law includes coercive control as a form of domestic violence. In my opinion, coercive control is at the heart of intimate partner violence because it is the threat, it is the intimidation of another person that, without ever being touched, controls that person. So sometimes it happens by control of food. There's a well-known case in the state about a woman who was nearly starved to death because her husband controlled the grocery shopping and the portions of what she ate. It's financial control, micromanaging finances. It is the threat to children, to animals, to family. And it's that constant threat where you feel like you are walking on eggshells all the time. And so it is very much a form of domestic violence, and it is now included in the definition. It's a legal matter of domestic violence.
I use the term silver lining, perhaps not the best choice of words there. It is never good to see anyone lose their life, but to see what's come out of it, some powerful work done on that front. This trial is going to be covered everywhere. People are going to be watching this across all their platforms, Fox 61, on their phones. As folks are once again inundated with this information, how do we empower people? What do you want people to be thinking about?
I hope that people will remember that this trial is really about an enormous tragedy. A woman who lost her life, who left 5 children. It's a terrible, terrible tragedy. And I hope people will remember and respect that. I hope it will inspire people to be kinder, to be gentler with each other. It is, undoubtedly, it is sensational, and it will be sensationalized. But ultimately, it's a story about a human being.
Fox 61 has been proud to sponsor the work that you're doing in part. Want to share that information in full disclosure. For someone who sees this and is in trouble, what do they need to do, whether it's them or someone whom they love?
Well, the most important thing is if you see something, say something. When people ask what they can do for us, they imagine I'm going to ask for money. But really what I want people to do is talk about this issue and raise the awareness of what domestic violence is and raise the understanding that it can happen to anyone, anytime. That's the most important thing you can do. The other thing is to understand that there is help available. It is free, it is confidential. There is a statewide hotline. Every one of the 18 agencies in the state has a free and confidential hotline. Believe it or not, the majority of our calls are for information. They don't come in crisis. They are calls with, what is happening to me? What has happened to this relationship? How do I act? Where do I go? What are my options? Those are the majority of calls we get.
Mary Jane Foster with Interval House, appreciate the work that you're doing, thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
And that was Fox 61's Keith McGilvery. We'll have continuing coverage, as we said, on this trial as it continues. But that does it for us now here on The Real Story. If you want to watch these segments again, you can head to fox61.com or download the free Fox 61 app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61 or streaming on Fox 61 Plus. Have a great morning.